Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. Jacqueline. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter, get the value you need, and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. Jacqueline at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today, whether you're watching or listening on the live or the replay. We're just very excited for our program today. This is USA Global TV and Radio. I'm Dr. Jacqueline KERBECK. I am the founder, president, and chief listening officer here at our network. Please do follow us and subscribe to our YouTube channel, USA Global TV and Radio. Our show today is Authentic Achievements, and the creative genius behind this concept and platform is Kim-Adele Randall. Let's welcome her to the program. Hello there.
Hi, Dr. Jacqueline. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you. I'm good.
Fantastic. Well, we were talking backstage about something exciting you have coming up. I'm not sure if you want to mention. If not, we can segue into something else. But there are many times in our life that we have something on a bucket list and we look forward to it and we put it out there, and then time goes by and all of a sudden, boom, it's the day before. So would you like to share a little bit more about this?
Yeah, of course. So I had a dream to be a TEDx speaker, to take my idea and share it. And I'm really excited that I got accepted to do my TEDx. And that felt like it was such a long time away. You know, when I first got accepted, I'd got another 14 weeks before we actually went live, before we did the event. And now here I am the day before, and it all feels very real. It all feels very, clearly very real. It's going to be tomorrow. We did the dress rehearsal last week. And it's really odd because obviously I put myself forward for it. I wanted to do it. It was something I wanted to say I'd achieve before I hit 50 next year. So I'm excited on all those levels, but it also feels really daunting that, you know, you're going to get up there and share an idea that hopefully is worth sharing, that hopefully is going to add value to the people that are watching it. But putting yourself out there can be a bit scary, can't it?
It definitely can. And I think that scary, those butterflies that we feel, that's nerves, but it's also anticipation and excitement. So in order to overcome our fears, I believe we have to be prepared. So you just mentioned that you did this rehearsal and you're obviously working with someone. Tell us some of the things that have been going on behind the scenes to get you ready for tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's one of those things that, you know, almost all the things that you thought you knew that you didn't know about TEDx. You know, I kind of naively thought you had an idea, you came up with the idea, you go out there, and as long as the idea is good enough, you get to share it. But actually, a TEDx is a very different experience. You know, having delivered speeches for almost 15 years now, I thought it would be similar to that. But actually, TEDx take their process really quite seriously, and the people that are running the license of TEDx Doncaster, where I'm performing, have been amazing. So we've been on like a 12-week training course of how to pull the story together, how to make sure that our idea is articulated in a way that people can understand, to make sure that we don't, you know, I'm a dreadful gesticulator. I talk like this all of the time. You're not allowed to do that because it can be distracting, and you've got to try and draw people in with the way that you're speaking and the words that you're using, instead of necessarily using your hands. And then you have to stay on the spot, and it's not a massive spot, so you can move. But again, normally I'm a bit of a pacer, and I'm a little bit of I've got my idea, I've got a structure, but I've not really got a script per se. And this has been much more about learning how to have, you don't have to have a actual script, but very much to know, like, you know, this is my start, these are the key points that I want to get across, here's my call to action, and here's my ending, so that there's a real structure to that process, and it's been about rehearsing it and rehearsing it and rehearsing it. And we've had coaches that have like listened to us and given pointers. We've gone to day-long training sessions to meet the other speakers. It's been a really, really fascinating and hugely rewarding experience already. And now we've just got that piece of, people are trusting you with their license to stand up and be one of the speakers. So I've got that nervous excitement around wanting to do well for myself, but also to do them proud, because they are trusting me with something so massive of theirs.
Wow, that is phenomenal. I know you're going to do extremely well. How long do you actually have to stand and present?
So you have to be able to do it in under 15 minutes. So it has to be between, ideally, they want it to be between 12 and 15 minutes. And my issue was a little different to everybody else's. Everyone else was like, how do I get my talk down to 12 minutes? Mine was, how do I get mine up to 12 minutes? Because we may have spotted, I talk very quickly. And when I'm nervous, I talk even faster. So even though I'd got it to 12 minutes, the minute I had to do it under pressure, it got down to about 9. And obviously people like, what's she saying? So I've had to really work hard at taking pauses and giving people chance to kind of absorb what you've said and then move on to it. So it's really helped me, I think, structure my thinking as well about how do I want to get points across.
Do they have a time clock that you can refer to?
No. Which is why they have to do so much practice. And apparently each TED is slightly different. So some of them, they do have a time clock. For this particular one, they didn't, because a lot of speakers actually find it more distracting. So you see that the time's ticking away, and actually that started to panic them rather than go, oh, it's okay, I've only got 3 minutes left to go. People would be getting like nervous, thinking I'm not where I need to be. So they haven't. Which is why we had to do the dress rehearsal last week, because the other point was last week at the dress rehearsal, if you weren't ready, you weren't going to be allowed to go on this week. So almost felt a little bit like an exam last week. It's like, oh my God.
Who was there?
So we had all the other speakers. It was open to friends and family. So we had other people there. We had all of the crew. So obviously they were checking for lighting, sound. We all had to be mic'd up so that they know how they're going, what the flow would look like. So it was really interesting. One of my best friends came along to support, which was amazing, and equally terrifying, to be fair, because I share a part of my personal story that I've never really shared with my friends and family, which is, I share it in the speech about the time that I found the lump, and Scarlett was only 9 months old, and I went to write her a letter in case I didn't make it through, in case I didn't get through. And it's really personal. It's really pertinent to the idea I want to share, which is, how we can turn our fear into our hope and build brave belief. And it only makes sense if you share a bit about you. But that felt a little bit daunting. Weirdly, why would it be daunting to share it with family and friends, people that I know and love? More difficult than it is to share it with people that you don't know, you've never met. And so I guess there was a lot for me to process in that.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I can understand that, because when you're speaking to people that you don't know, those emotions are not all tied up in it. And maybe you didn't want to relive it again. Who knows? But
Yeah.
I really commend you on having the strength and fortitude to follow your dreams. So what will you be wearing, Kim-Adele?
So I'm wearing, it's a kind of I can't decide if it's orange or red, to be fair. It's like an orangey red. It would look lovely with this background. Kind of like knee-length dress, and then black boots, which I think is pretty much anti what you're supposed to do, because you're not really supposed to wear red or black. But I went with the fact that because I'm a little bit apprehensive about getting it right and doing it well, I wanted to wear something that I feel comfortable and I feel confident in. And I think obviously, as we're talking about with the title of today's show, what I do when times get tough, it's I look at all the things that I can control. So what are things that I can do that I can take control of, that allows me to feel like the whole thing isn't, running away with me. And so, I looked at it and went, I know I get nervous with things like slides because, I might get the clicker to go the wrong way or something under pressure. So I have no slides. So that I've taken away that challenge, and I've chosen to wear something that I feel comfortable and confident in, rather than panic about having to pick something different where I might not feel as confident and comfortable as I can do. So I think, for me, I guess they're my lessons in life, is whenever you've got things that are challenging, you've got things that are out of control, is to look at what is the things you can control and focus on those.
Thanks so much for sharing that. And of course, the red and orange really are part of your branding. So when you think about comfortableness and empowerment, why would you deviate from your branding?
Yeah, absolutely. And also, my little girl, as you know, is called Scarlett, which is why my branding is red, because she's my North Star, and that's she's my reason for being. And my business is my other reason for being, which is to share to help other people to achieve their dreams. So it feels really fitting, and that's why I want to do the TEDx in the first place. So it felt like a no-brainer. But to say that, I did spend at least 4 hours last weekend trying on dresses in various colours that weren't red, just on the off chance that actually, until I had a word with myself and went, no, stop trying to change the things that actually work for you, and just get comfortable with trusting your intuition. And we don't always trust our intuition, do we?
No, we definitely don't. And I also agree with you. When we are wearing something we're not comfortable in, then we're focused and fixated on that. Why do I wear this dress? It's creeping up. Is this, it's that. And we need to just alleviate all those things. That is something that you can control. And so that's on the checklist. It's already off. You don't even have to think about it. So we are talking today about when things get tough, when things get rough, some of the things that we can do. And you've lived through a number of very challenging times. I have as well. And we are always very authentic and open about our situation, our experience. So I would love to spotlight you and just share something in your past, if you would. Maybe you've shared it before, you'll share it again, or maybe this is something new. And then how did you show up? What did you do?
Yeah, of course. So, as you know, I often joke, if I were ever to write my memoirs, it would look like some litany of disaster, because I've had 3 divorces, a stalker. I suffered imposter syndrome for decades. I've had 3 life-threatening illnesses, 2 car accidents and a hurricane and a miscarriage. So, life has given me plenty of opportunities to be overwhelmed. And I think my last, and perhaps one of my most challenging ones, I remember, I was just awaiting surgery. My marriage had just broken down. I'd given up my job to focus on my husband's career. So it all felt like, overnight I'd become, an unemployed single mum with an illness. And I remember laying on the floor and I didn't know how to breathe. And that is clearly not true. I mean, I clearly know how to breathe, but that's how broken I felt in that moment. And then I remembered that, like, my little girl was upstairs and she hadn't asked to be born and she needed me. She wasn't quite 1. And so I got myself up off the floor and I was like, okay, focus on the things that you can do. So I can go upstairs and I can feed my little girl and I can make sure that she's okay and that she's safe. And I can, I can look at what do I want to do? What do I want to achieve next? And what steps can I take towards that, even if I don't know what all of them are? And so I started to write myself a bit of a plan of what things could I do? What steps could I take? And then I focused on those. And I found some coping mechanisms, which I don't recommend to anybody else. One of my coping mechanisms was I worked out, because within a week, I'd managed to get myself a job. So I'd got those bits sorted. and I was starting to come, find ways through. But I was still devastated about the breakdown of my marriage and all the other things that were swirling around there. And so I worked out that if I started crying at 8 p.m. at night, as long as I finished crying by 2 a.m, nobody'd ever know, because it was in between Scarlett's feet, and it was long enough after finishing crying that when I went to work the next day, I didn't look like I'd been slapped around the face with a wet fish. So I did that for probably about 3 months, much longer than I should have done, because I needed to get the emotion out. But I also knew that I needed to keep the job because I needed the job. So I was running a multi-million-pound organisation, so I really couldn't turn up every day being a gibbering wreck. So I had to be in control. And so I focused on, what can I do? Well, I can do my job because I know how to do that. I've been doing that for lots of years. I can lead people because I know how to do that. I can focus on them and their challenges because actually that allows me to distract myself from me and mine. And just because you kept taking another step, before you realise it, you're looking back and you've survived the thing that you didn't think you could. So I guess for me, that was one of my big learnings, is when things get tough, focus on just the one step, no matter how small it is, but just keep taking it and be kind to yourself. Some days, all I set myself as a target was to adult appropriately for 12 hours. And it's like, if I can get through the day and I can adult appropriately, I can do what the job expects of me, and I can be a good mum to Scarlett, then that's perhaps all I can ask of myself today. But I can reward the win when I get there tonight, because we've got to also reward those little things, the little achievements, no matter how small they might feel. If we reward those, we start to get more of them.
I love this idea of rewarding the wins. And so I'd like to talk a little bit about what the reward looks like. I know for me, I have taken so many things out of my life, that I've eliminated so many things for health reasons. So I don't drink caffeine. I don't eat sugar. I haven't been in a relationship for 2+ years. I stopped drinking. So there's very few things, tangible things to reward. So what does reward look like to you? Because I think as a society, we're so used to the things. We have to have a thing to represent the win, but that's not really true. What are your thoughts?
So no, I completely agree. It doesn't always have to be a thing. So sometimes I'll reward myself by going, do you know what? I'm going to take half an hour off in the middle of the day and just going to go for an extra walk with the dog, or I'm going to go for a swim, or I'm going to go to the park. Or this week I've just found out that I've passed the next part of my course. I'm doing a child psychology course at the minute. So I've just found out I've passed that. So I actually went and got my nails painted, which is something I wouldn't normally do. But it was great. My little girl is unfortunately home ill today. She's had tonsillitis. So she's been really poorly and has had to be really brave and take antibiotics that didn't taste very nice. And so I said to her, if we get to the end of the week and you've taken all of your antibiotics and mummy passes this course and she's just passed the next level of her swimming, then as a special, as a reward for our win, we'll go together to the local salon and we'll both get our nails painted. So we went this morning. It was lovely because, yes, it's a thing. So on this particular occasion, it was a thing, but it was more about the memory. It's the first time she's ever been. She felt so grown up, sat there in that chair getting her nails painted and picking the colour out for herself and what have you. And it's just a beautiful memory. So I've got another win from having my win, because I've got that memory that I wouldn't have had we not gone and taken that time.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Shared experiences like that can mean everything. So let's say your nails. What color did you pick?
Very
nice.
So we went really pale. Scarlett picked it with one glittery nail, but so that it goes with everything and doesn't clash too much tomorrow. But it's just a silly little thing, but it's amazing how sometimes we'll just go, we've done something great this week. What are we going to reward ourselves with? And it might just be we're going to sit in and have movie night. So it's not costing anything, but it's more the fact that you're taking that moment and saying, we're doing this because, And one of the things that I do with my little girl every day is we do our gratitude. We do it over breakfast. What are we grateful for? And we include in our what we're grateful for anything that's any little win that we've got. And what I'm seeing already, and she's not quite 6 yet, is she's seeing more and more things to be grateful for, because every day we're taking that moment to say, what are we grateful for? And I think even in the toughest times, even in the times where I felt so broken, I had so much to be grateful for. And I used to try and every day focus on that. You know, what am I grateful for? What are the things that I can be proud and pleased about? And I remember one of my friends saying to me once, I can't decide if you're incredibly strong or incredibly stupid. I was like, I think it's probably both in equal measures. It's like, I don't know how to stop, because my nervousness is, if I stop, I might never get started. So if I can just keep going, if I can just take a little step, if I can, even if it's a very small thing, then it gives me something else to be grateful for. It gives me something else to focus on. And we know that what we focus on is what we get. So, and that can be really hard when times are tough, is to force ourselves to focus on what we want rather than what we don't want, which is happening to us at the time.
Really great points. Thank you so much for sharing them. We were having a conversation here with my family, and two of us are going to be 60 next year. I'll be 60 in March. And I started thinking to myself, oh my gosh, like I'm going to be 60. I'm not in a relationship. I don't drink. I don't eat. Like, what am I going to be doing to celebrate? Like I started getting seriously, like really kind of like, wow, this is going to be a different kind of birthday. And then when I started thinking about it, I was like, you know what? I can go to yoga. I can go to Solidcore and get a massage. Like there's so many things that I can do that are healthy ways of rewarding the fact that I'm 60. And because of the choices that, well, I will be 60, I should say, because of the choices that I'm making and that I've made, I want to have a longer and healthier life, because I have 3 autoimmune diseases, as you know. So I've been making decisions that can help keep me in remission for longer. But it was kind of like, wow. I remember when I was 50, it was the greatest birthday I've ever had in my entire life. And I think I already talked about, we went to the Versace mansion and got this beautiful diamond, and went to Paris and Monte Carlo. And now it's, you know, I'll be with my mom thinking about working out. So it's just different, but I think it's all a matter of perspective. So for that, the reason I bring it up is for that 1 hour that I was thinking about, I was kind of like, ooh, ooh, ooh. And then I reframed how I was looking at it and thought, wow, this will be even more special.
Oh, I love that, because it is, you know, and we change our perspectives, don't we? And sometimes we look at, I find myself at least, going, oh, well, you know, maybe if I do this, it won't be as good. And in whose opinion? Just because it's not what anybody else is going to be doing. It's actually, if I'm going to enjoy it, if it's something I'm going to enjoy doing. My birthday this year, my little girl was away, and she was like, Mummy, don't celebrate without me, will you? I was like, no, I won't. I promise I won't celebrate without you. And I remember on the day, I like friends and family going, Kim, you're not having the day on your own though, are you? And I was like, yeah, I promised her that I wouldn't. I said, actually, I'm really looking forward to a day just me, and I'm going to do all the things I enjoy doing, even if they're really not very much fun for anybody else, because it's my birthday. I'm allowed to do that. And then obviously we celebrated with friends and family afterwards when Scarlett could be involved. And I went out with friends, separately. But the actual day itself, I chose to have a day at home with the dog, and we just like meandered out and went and sat in a favourite coffee shop and watched the world go by for a bit. And it might not have been anybody else's version of a good time, but it was mine. And I realised that I'm old enough to own that and go, not for me, it was amazing. And I'm not going to judge anybody else on how they held their day. And I doubt that they're really going to judge me on how I held mine, because I'm sure it probably doesn't even enter their mind. So I think we get into that space, don't we, where we view it from the outside world instead of viewing it from the inside world.
Yes, we definitely do. We get all caught up in what other people are going to think or say. Meanwhile, they're not thinking of anything because they're thinking about themselves and what they're doing. So I think it is interesting the evolution of when we turn 20 or 30, that each decade we look at our life in a different way. So, when we're younger, it's, maybe doing some things that are really crazy that we look back now and go, "Oh, I don't know about that." But and maybe not, but it's being able to make a choice that works for you because it's your life, and how you choose to reflect on it is your business.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it took me a long time to realize that. It took me a long time to realize that actually it is my life. And as long as I'm not harming anybody, as long as I'm not being unkind, or making somebody else's life difficult, then I should be allowed to live mine how I see it will be of benefit, how I think it will be fun to do. And that could be very different to everybody else's. But like many people, I tried to fit in. I wanted everybody to like me, and I'm a British person. I could, we could argue about how we take our tea as much as we do about politics and religion. And I found this quote, and I love it, and I've tried to live by it ever since, which is, "I'd rather be somebody's shot of whiskey than everybody's cup of tea." Because for the right people, you'll be their shot of whiskey. You'll be the thing that like spurs them on, that gives them belief. And for the rest of them, they're not if you're not their cup of tea, that's fine. They can choose not to be near you. And that was so liberating. Doesn't mean I go out of my way to have people not like me, but I no longer take it too personally if they don't like me, because I just go, was I trying to be kind? Was I being honest? Was I doing the right thing as best I knew it? And as long as I can say yes to those three things, there's no more I can do.
It's so true. And I think when we get caught up in what we're supposed to be doing, what people expect of us, I know for me, I'm completely, I don't want to say 100%, but I'm going to say 90 some percent different than I was before the pandemic. And I think it's kind of a shock for people. I have a different career. I don't live on my own anymore. And I think that maybe people find it boring. People stop calling, and that's okay because I am in a different place. But I feel like it's been an incredible growth opportunity. And you can always go back to where you were with the behaviors and the choices that you made. It's always there. It's always open for you to go back to that. But as we evolve and as we grow, why would we want to go back instead of going forward to see what the next chapter presents and what's available that we couldn't get to if we were clinging on to all these old ideas and these expectations about other people and from other people?
That's so true. Because, my nan used to say every day's a school day, and God bless her, she was right. And every day we learn, and with everything we learn, we grow. And that doesn't mean to say we can't go back and do something that we did once before, but we'll do it differently because we're different, because we won't be the person we were before, because we've continued to grow, we've continued to evolve, we've continued to learn. And I think for me, I would much rather continue to grow and learn than I would stay where I am and think I'm never going to learn anything that I don't already know. That for me would be a really depressing thought. Whereas I'd much rather think, oh my goodness, what am I going to learn today that I didn't know yesterday? And what door is that going to open? And I think that, I guess it's turning the unknown into the exciting.
Very true. And we all know people who are not growing, not evolving, and they stand steadfast in where they are. And of course, there's no judgment. As we evolve, the people we surround ourselves with also changes. I know for me that I'm a very curious person. I'm very interested. That's part of the reason why I love doing this, because every show, whether I'm producing backstage or I'm on the screen, I'm learning something. And I just love that. I think it's just fascinating. Whereas, I'll get together with people and they're talking about the same things they used to be talking about. And nobody will even ask me. I think to myself, wow, I've got 29 shows, people from all over the world, and you're talking about whatever. And again, there's no judgment, but I just find it actually boring.
Yeah. Well, I think it's, I feel very, very blessed because I get to learn something new every day. I get to meet amazing new people. I get to listen to fascinating stories. I also have great friendships that go back years. One of the things I'm proudest of is, my best friend's been my best friend since we were 4. And my other best friends, we've been friends now for 25 years. And despite the fact we've got very different lives and we do very different things, we've still got that connection. We've still got that peace. And they don't mind that I go off and do my bits and we have very different lives. But when we come together, we've got that grounding, we've got that connection, and we're interested in each other and what we're doing, even if it's not something that we necessarily, understand. As I say, one of my friends came with me last week to the rehearsal of TEDx. And yet when we were first talking about me doing it, none of my friends knew what TEDx was. There'd not been something that they'd heard of or that had really resonated with them in their world. But because of us, because of the connection, they came along for support, which meant the world to me.
Well, I love the fact that you're sharing that, and it's always so just invigorating to be with you because you're so real and transparent about what's going on with you. So in the time that we have left, I know you've already shared some of the things that you do. What would you say are some of the things you've observed other people doing when times are tough that maybe you've embraced or haven't embraced as of yet, or maybe never will?
Yeah. Oh, great question. I think, when times are tough, it can be really difficult to not focus on all that's going wrong, things that we don't want. And unfortunately, that's a real drain on our energy. When things are already going wrong and now we're focused on the fact that they're going wrong, and we kind of move into that, that why me kind of space. It's really hard to pull ourselves out of that. And I was very lucky. I remember having a conversation with somebody many years ago when I was going through one of my challenges, and they talked about the power of reframing, the power of actually changing the words that we use. And so instead of saying why me, you change it to try me. So whatever's been sent has been sent to teach us something. So what is it teaching us? So I've now learned that nothing in life is done to me, it's done for me, even if it doesn't feel like it at the time. And there's been many things that I would rather have not experienced. But I look at it and go, okay, so if I don't feel blessed right now, where's the lesson? Because it will be in there. And if I can find the lesson and I can find a way to learn the lesson, then I can move my way through it. And I guess, the other thing that somebody shared with me is go and find people that have lived through what you're going through, and then look at what they did and try and replicate it. So, follow their path where it feels comfortable. So, there might be some parts of the path where you go, okay, that's for you, but I'm not there. I'm not ready to do that part. But just the same as they say, if you want to go and build a multi-million-pound business, go and follow people that have built multi-million-pound businesses and watch what they did and then do it. I think the same is true when you're dealing with adversity. It is find online, whether it's books or podcasts or YouTube channels, or reach out to people that are going through something similar, and see what they've done and see which elements of that you feel you could bring into how you're approaching whatever's going on in your world.
Great tips. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And I love what you said, why is this happening for me? As I've shared, I have ulcerative colitis 30 years. It's a chronic, incurable disease. And it's been especially bad this time. Like the pain, even when I'm on air, sometimes I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. But I was just discussing this with my family last night. I feel like because I have this, and most people would never even know unless you see me running. Most people would never even know. And I feel like my pain tolerance level is so high. And what I'm able to accomplish, what I have accomplished with this debilitating disease, I'm pretty happy with. I'm pretty proud of myself that I can continue to flourish and thrive. And so I feel like if I didn't have this disease, maybe I wouldn't be where I am in terms of this fabulous life that I've created for myself. It might not be fabulous for someone else. Other people might be like, wow, it sounds really pathetic. But for me, I'm really happy with where I am.
I love that. And you should be really proud of the fact that you're finding ways through it. I remember when I was pregnant with Scarlett, I previously, as you know, had a miscarriage. So I was desperate to make sure that I did everything that I could to keep her alive and healthy while she was inside. And I remember having a kidney infection, and I got taken into hospital. I got strapped up to saline and you name it. And then they were trying to give me painkillers, and I was like, no, I'm not taking anything. You're not putting anything inside me that could risk my baby. And the nurse kept walking past, and she was like, but madam, you're crying. And I was like, I know, but am I making any noise? And she went, no. I said, then I don't need it. And my ex-husband walking in and saying, I knew which one was my wife, the one sat there with tears strolling down her face, refusing any help or support whilst sitting on a BlackBerry doing work. He said, there's just no getting through to you. And I was like, well, no, it was about which one was more important. And it was more important to me that I didn't do anything that I could feel bad about later that might have caused Scarlett pain. So I found a way through the pain, and it's amazing what the mind can do. I was very lucky. I did hypnobirthing, where they teach you how to train your brain to go, it's painful, but I expect it to be painful. I'm having a baby. And therefore the pain is bearable, because look at what's coming at the end of it. And I'm very fortunate as a result of that. I think it's given me the ability to tap into a strength whenever I've needed it.
You know what? I just am so happy that you shared that, because that's a really pivotal point. We grow through pain. And what happens is people don't want to deal with the pain. So they'll take anything and everything and do what they have to avoid it. Let me pop a pill. Let me have a drink. Let me this or that, so that I don't have to feel the pain. But the truth is, the pain's still going to be there. And you can do something to hide the pain, but that pain's still going to be there. You're going to have to face it one day or another. So when you were sharing your story, Kim-Adele, I just thought to myself, I knew what your answer would be, because it wasn't about you.
No. And that's it. You can find the thing that's bigger than you. I remember walking in. So unfortunately, after a 36-hour natural labour with nothing, not even gas or air, we had to have an emergency C-section, because I was a geriatric mum and they were concerned that I'd been in labour for too long. And they let me out of hospital the next day. And the day after, we had to go back into the hospital for the 3-day baby check that they do over here in the UK. And I walked in carrying Scarlett in her car seat on my arm. My husband was with me. He'd got the bag. I remember the midwife going, excuse me, aren't you the lady that had the emergency C-section? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, you're not supposed to be out of bed yet, let alone carrying anything. But you told me I had to come back in with her. So I've come back in because she needs to be checked, and it's a Saturday and you won't come to me. And I remember she turned around to my ex and was like, Jesus Christ, your wife's made of steel. How's she even doing this? And it was like, because who she's doing it for is greater than what you're asking her to do. He said, and I promise you that will make her find the strength, because you make it what I've found for myself, and this may or may not work for others, is if I can make it about something that's much more important than me, then I can find a way through the pain, whatever the pain is.
That's so powerful. And I hope that people take something away from what you're sharing in this regard, because it is so easy to succumb to whatever is the least resistance, to put something off and say to yourself, you know what, I can't deal with that right now. I'm too this, that, and the other. And I would just ask you to embrace walking through that door and seeing where it takes you, especially if it's about someone else and to protect someone else. That, is it asking too much to endure some kind of pain for the good of someone else or for the good of a situation? And I think all across the world, that's what we're seeing. There's so many different issues. We could go on and on. Your country, my country, doesn't matter. But I really appreciate you, Kim-Adele, and I'm super excited for you to have your TEDx moment tomorrow. And I can't wait for you to come back and share with us. So tell our audience again, you share with me, but what does that process for the TEDx talk look like, and when people can see it and where?
Yeah, thank you. So we're doing it live tomorrow in Doncaster. So actually in the Cast Theatre there, which is just an amazing experience doing the dress rehearsal. So I'm really looking forward to the live speech, and they record it, and then those recordings get edited usually within the next couple of weeks, and then they get submitted to TED, and TED then view them to see if that they're okay to go on their platform, and then they put them live, at which point it will be available online for anybody to watch. And I've said that I will happily share it here on our channel, so that if people would like to see it, they can do. And I would love any feedback, because my reason for doing it is to hopefully share an idea that helps people. And it's aligned to kind of what we're talking about today, about what to do when things get tough, because I'm going to be talking about how we turn our fear into hope and build brave belief so that we can achieve whatever we want to in life.
Fabulous. And we have your banner up, but for people who can't read it, or they're on the radio or a podcast platform later, what's the best way to reach out to you, and who would you like to contact you?
Of course. So please do get in touch. It's kim@kimadelerandall.com. Or you can find out more about what we're up to at www.authenticachievements.com. And really, if you've got a story that you'd like to share, if you've overcome adversity and gone on to achieve things, and you've got ideas that can help others do the same, then please do get in touch. We'd love to have you on and hear your story.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Kim-Adele. And thank you to each and every one of you out there watching or listening on the live or the replay. We do appreciate you. We'll be back again next week with more intense conversation, hopefully motivating, inspiring somebody out there to look at life in a different perspective. All right. Thanks again. We'll be right back with the power of etiquette and manners. Bye, Kim-Adele. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.